Hello again, everybody. This is Nick with WatchTalkWorld.com, and I feel we have something special to review today. Here I have the Invicta Sub Aqua Noma 3 GMT edition. There are a lot of things I really like about this watch, which is the main reason I bought it, and to date, this is the most expensive watch that I've ever purchased. One thing you may notice right off the bat here is its large size, which is keeping in theme not only with Invicta but with a lot of my recent purchases. It's smaller than the Russian Diver, larger than the Sea Vulture, and around the same size as the Admiral, but with the larger bezel and smaller dial size, it appears smaller than the Admiral. This watch sports an ETA 2893, which I will try to get you a bit of a look at here. There's a bit of decoration to it, which I wasn't aware that it had, but it's there's a bit of light decoration. There's some striping done to it, and it's got blued screws, but more than likely it's a base grade movement otherwise. And one thing I find significant about this movement is, well, number one, I've never owned a 289 series ETA automatic, and two, for the most part, people consider the 2892 and 2893 to be superior to the 2824. There's a few reasons they consider this to be true. One of them is it's a newer design, where the 2824 can trace its roots back to the 50s. I believe the 289 series movements were created during the 70s, so a little bit newer design. From the specs that I've read, it's about a millimeter thinner. Also, the 2892 is also more the movement of choice of high-end watches, and I believe they have a higher rate of chronometer certification. And then there's some other parts along the way that they feel were improved over the 2824, But mainly, for me, it was just I had never owned a GMT watch, nor had I owned anything but any Swiss automatics beyond the Solita SW200 and the 2824. We have a rotating bezel here. I'll try to give it a little turn for you so you can see it. Relatively effortless. As you can see, I've kind of just got two fingers to turn it there, but I'm still able to get it to turn. It's got a bit of a plastic sound to it. Doesn't really reek expensive, but it's a solid bezel with no play vertically or laterally there. So while it is solid, it doesn't necessarily sound that way in its engagement. This watch is water resistant to 500 meters, which is much deeper than I'll ever even consider going, and if I'm that deep, I'm probably not caring that my watch is still running. However, being that it's a dive watch, I do believe it could, not only does it look the part, I believe it could play the part. One thing you may notice, if I kind of hold it like this watch has a very thick sapphire crystal. One thing I don't like about the watch is that it does have the crystal does set above the bezel there. Generally that leaves it prone to chipping, especially in a watch that's very tall, but it leads me to wonder if that's what these little nubs here are for, is to kind of help maybe keep somebody from walking into a doorway or a door frame or something and chipping off a big piece of the crystal. As far as I can tell, I believe this watch employs an inner anti-reflective coating. While not as effective as the Sea Vulture, it still does a good job of keeping reflections down pretty low. And one thing that really attracted me to the watch was its looks. I really like the matte gray dial, the red and white text. And I think it all works really well together. I just think it's a sharp combination. You can see we have a reversed date wheel with a lot of times that's being a white background with black numbers. This time it's the other way around. As far as some other comments about the watch, the crown is by far the smoothest I've ever operated. So much so that when I went to wind it out of the box, I thought it was broke because I felt no resistance. I heard no sound. It was just like a normal watch. When a crown's in the neutral position, you could just turn it and turn it and turn it. And I had to listen to the watch up to my ear to hear any winding. And eventually, the second hand started. All the functions of this watch are just buttery smooth. The GMT hand's a breeze to set. I mean, at any one point I was just worried if the crown was engaged. It was just so smooth. But otherwise, very heavy watch, a very good looking watch. Is it worth $600, which is around the price I paid? I think so. There's a lot of things that make me feel that way. The movement, one that's kind of considered a more high-end movement in terms of Swiss automatics. The 500 meters depth resistance, a very nicely made case, very thick bracelet. A couple of improvements. The crown for me is a bit tough to grab. Perhaps if I didn't chew my fingernails it'd be easier to pull out to different clicks. It's easy enough to wind, but I have a difficult time pulling out the crown. But otherwise, very solid watch. The last time I had checked, after about 12 hours, the watch had gained about 2 seconds. So perhaps if I'm within 4 to 6 seconds a day, this thing still may meet chronometer specifications. I'll try to give you guys a quick shot before I run out of memory on the wrist. It's not going to be very zoomed in, but as you can see, it'll stand pretty tall on the wrist. But a very good looking watch nonetheless. It takes a while to get used to the weight, but you'll never forget this on your wrist. And if any of you are looking for a really high quality, high value Swiss dive watch, be sure to check out the Aqua Noma line. Thank you.